If we can take care of ourselves first, then we'll be of service and be able to help somebody else. There's a great saying that says you can't transmit something you haven't got. So if you've got great personal care, it's going to be a lot easier to go help somebody else in their personal care.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. At Tap the Potential, we know that you want to be freed from the constant demands of your business. In order to do that, you need a business that supports your life. The problem is you have a cash-sucking business taking over your life, leaving you frustrated and discouraged. We believe work supports life, not the other way around. We understand you're paying a team and you're still having to do it all. There should be accountability. It shouldn't be this hard, which is why through our proprietary coaching system, we help thousands of business owners just like you have more time for what's important to them and grow profit by 300 to 800%. Here's how we do it. First, take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. Next, meet with our success team lead to debrief your results. Then, join our Better Business, Better Life program. By the end of your first year with us, you will have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than you've ever had before. So take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment so you can stop working so hard for so little return. Take your life back. We've recorded this in the midst of the coronavirus event and found these interviews truly applicable to all major change events. We must lead with love through adversity, focusing on our vision and continuing to have our work support our life. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist at Tap the Potential, and this special episode of Self-Care and Strategy for Entrepreneurs is being specifically produced for you, our profit designers, on the Profit by Design podcast. Profit designers, at Tap the Potential, we are on a mission right now to be a positive force in social media during trying times for all of us entrepreneurs. In that regard, I would love it if you could help us out. We really want to get behind any of you who are doing good things in your communities, showing up and leading with love. If you are doing something to keep your team together during this time and you're sharing it in social media, or you come across another entrepreneur who is being a gift from their gift in some way that you notice, please use the hashtags Lead with Love and Be a Gift. Our team at Tap the Potential is on the lookout in social media for those hashtags, and we will be reposting those social media posts from the Tap the Potential social media. Let's all lead with love, be a gift, and shine bright during these trying times. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, your host, the business psychologist here at Tap the Potential. And today I'm honored to have Tony Grebmeier with us. Tony is the founder of the BeFulfilled community, and he's also a serial entrepreneur. He's a husband, father, friend. His current venture includes ShipOffers, a 5-year Inc. 5,000 fastest growing company. And his mission is to bring fulfillment to the world. And that extends from traditional fulfillment service to personal fulfillment. Tony's also on a quest to redefine how we all view and define success. He has the BeFulfilled Podcast, which features entrepreneurs coming together to redefine success. And it's the perfect show for entrepreneurs who know they can achieve their dreams despite their hardships. So that's kind of where we're going to head today, is talking about how do we keep moving forward here with our dreams despite the different hardships that we are all experiencing in our personal lives and our businesses. Tony. So why don't you just jump in here a bit and talk about what you're experiencing right now as we're dealing with coronavirus?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I'm sitting in my transformed dining room and turned it into my work from home studio. And, I'm living in beautiful Colorado. One of my kids is a freshman at University Boulder. So he's living in our basement. It wasn't what he had planned. So we moved all his stuff out 3 weeks ago. And, he's trying to figure out life using Zoom and all this great technology. And then I have basically a junior, senior status college student, Ethan, out in California. And, he packed up all of his stuff and moved in with his girlfriend. I'm just praying no babies by Christmas. Like, hey, it's life, right? So it's a little bit of a panic. And then I have in-laws around that we haven't been able to see. I had just gotten back from Europe on the 10th of March. So I was traveling for business with my wife and a colleague and his wife. So we were gone for 2 weeks and we had gone to 4 different countries. So we were UK, we had gone to Bucharest, Romania, we were in Dublin, Ireland, and then happened to be in Paris. And so I didn't see what everybody's seeing, so to speak. I didn't have blinders on. I was just not seeing the exact same status. One thing I don't do is I don't turn on the news. So I don't live in that world. I try to remind myself if I need something, set a Google alert and I'll get an update if it's from the CDC or who or wherever I need this information. I just remind myself that I have a faith, I have a belief system that this too shall pass. However, when I get text messages like, oh, my brother died or my cousin's in the hospital having a hard time breathing, that is my reality. And that's because I have built a community ever since I was a little kid. That's number one on my list. You have to today, if you're an introvert, extrovert, I don't care what you are, you have to raise your hand and stick your hand out and say, hey, can I be of service? And just do things maybe that are a little uncomfortable because people out there need right now more than ever for you to show up and to support them. Because a simple text, like I just texted a friend in Romania and he just got back. He says, I woke up to your message today. Thank you so much. Because we have that opportunity. You go 2008, Facebook was just getting started. I've been an entrepreneur online since 1996. So I've lived through and seen a couple of things. This has been the weirdest world that I've ever been associated with the last, literally since I came home on the 10th of March. This has flipped my world, not in a negative way. It's connected me more with people that I love and then introduced me to a whole bunch of new people that I just get to love on. So I feel like if we just take John Lennon's song, Imagine, and we really kind of stick our hands out and be of service today, the world's going to be a better place. We're going to go through some pain, but I think we're going to all get through it together because I know we're better together than we are isolating alone.
I agree. And I really appreciate what you're sharing, that your world has flipped upside down. I feel the same way. My life 3 weeks later is very different than it was 3 weeks ago. And, we've been supporting a lot of entrepreneurs at Tap the Potential as they're going and dealing with different things. I think the latest stress for a lot of our folks has been the payroll protection program. That is just nuts. And, it looks like it's going to be helpful, but we all have to kind of sort through and things aren't coming as fast as we might like them to. But I really appreciate what you're sharing about not looking at the news. I took a whole vacation this weekend from news. I had no coronavirus interaction on my news, and I took the whole weekend off of Facebook. I was just with my girls and spending time with them. And one of the things that I think is a real positive out of all of this is, like you said, we are connecting more. We're reaching out, being more present with our loved ones. You can't help it when you're all holed up in a house together. We fortunately have a lot of property around us and a pool, so we're able to get outside. I did some gardening this weekend. But I'm on vacation this week, except for coming here to do this Facebook Live, because I really felt like I needed to take that step back so that we could continue to support our entrepreneurs fully at Tap the Potential. And our team is still there supporting the community. But I took the time off because I was feeling it. And I think it's important that we pay attention to the stress in our own lives and look for what we need to do to take care of ourselves.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I probably got more exercise in the last 3 weeks than I had in probably the last 2 months. I wake up every morning about 5:30, get into the office around 7:38. I love to work, so I come home at 5. In the last week or so, my wife's been making these great comments. She's like, you seem to be working a lot more. And I'm like, because I'm in the fulfillment business, we're busy. We're an essential business. 3 weeks ago or so on a Monday, I just visited and toured the FedEx sort facility in Paris. It's the largest sort facility for FedEx in Europe. And, I just nudged the guy a little bit because we were keeping our distance. And I said, so have you heard, do you have any people come down with it? And says, see those planes out there? That's what's causing everybody to rethink how they're doing business. Airlines are shutting down. People have it staying home. And you started to see this little trend. And so now some weeks later, I'm home. And as you're talking about personal care, that's the number one thing we have to remind ourselves. If we can take care of ourselves first, then we'll be of service and be able to help somebody else. But you can't transmit. There's a great saying that says you can't transmit something you haven't got. So if you've got great personal care, it's going to be a lot easier to go help somebody else in their personal care.
Yes.
So I think it's so powerful what you're doing, taking a digital detox too. I think that's an important thing. Just because you're home and you have social media or you have this technology in front of you, what about like making a cool itinerary for your family and saying, hey, we're going on a vacation today. I set up some hammocks in the backyard. We're going to cook some lunch. We're just going to read some books. We're going to toss around maybe cornhole or do something, but just digitally disconnect, but actually reconnect even at an essential layer. That's a lot more than just sending a message on the Facebook or on the phone to say hi. You can actually connect.
Yes. And Tony, I've also been thinking that this is a really great time to start some powerful habits for ourselves, like you mentioned, exercising more, but also with our families. So like I'm being much more intentional with spending time in the evenings playing games with the kids. And that's something that in the regular school week and work week kind of goes by the wayside. And also just looking at, helping them with their schoolwork in a much more intimate way because I have a 5, soon to be 6-year-old, she'll be 6 this weekend, 6-year-old and a 13-year-old. And so usually they go to school and I'm not involved in what they're learning, but we have a whole experiment on our counter now of capillary action in plants. And, we're studying that. I would be missing out on that if it wasn't for coronavirus. So one of my self-care strategies really has been to look at what can I be grateful for? What are the opportunities that are coming out of this? And, in our business, I have seen our Tap the Potential family of entrepreneurs coming together and reaching out and supporting each other. I would love for you to talk a little bit more about why that connection and building community is so important for you, because I know that has played a big role in your life.
No, I appreciate it. And I think it's great. A suggestion I made to my wife last night, Amber, we talked about just doing like Sunday night dinner via Zoom. So get our in-laws together and put the kids wherever they're at and have them all Zoom in, and we'll just eat our own meal. And so it'll save on a lot of cooking for a lot of people. And we can just sit and chat and let it be awkward too. Let the conversation kind of be like, Grandpa, come on, figure it out. Get the mic working, right? But like, let it be, because that's what it would be if it was sitting around your table anyway. So try to not create so much new, even though we are living in a new normal. I think, Sabrina, one of the things that it really hits me this morning that I really want to share is, so a little over about 9 months ago, my mentor and coach passed, Dr. Sean Stevenson. And Sean was kind of instrumental in my life. He really was somebody who always made it a point to reach out. And you would get a random message. If you were fortunate enough, you'd get one more than once a week. But you just get a random message of like, hey, how you doing? And reflecting on all those messages, my knee-jerk reaction was, I'm good. And since then, I've started asking a new question. When someone says they're good, my flip response is, hey, I'm working on something. Could you define what good is? I'd really love to hear what your good is, because good is we just answer with a knee-jerk reaction. So taking the question one more layer and saying, please explain. Mm-hmm. And what you're finding is that's when people begin to open up. So if you're texting somebody or you see your neighbor and you're like, hey, howdy neighbor. And for most of us, a lot of our neighbors could be like on the TV show Tool Time, where it's Wilson's across the way and you see us like, how you doing? And you want to ask one more question, like, your yard looks really, really nice. Like, how's your family? And try to get people to be a little bit open. We're so disconnected as a society, thanks to social media, Facebook, and all these things. Our heads down 90% of the time. We don't see our neighbors. So I've seen so many more people this last 3 days. I've seen more people wearing masks. So here in Colorado, they're asking people to go outside wearing a mask now. And so everything that I do really comes down to asking more than just the general basic questions, because I think we're stuck in answering with, we're good, things are fine. And I know for me, I struggled with drugs and alcohol for many years in my life. And I've been clean and sober a little over 11 years. And I was the person who contemplated suicide and was about to send out my note to the world because I thought my world was over. And a dear friend texted me saying, hey, I'm coming to see you. And a few minutes later, he knocked on my door and he gave me a hug. And he says, Tony, your life has meaning and purpose, but what you're doing right now doesn't. I still just get emotional just hearing those words because that's what I've chosen to live by every day, is that I need to find meaning and purpose in all things that I do. And he wasn't saying it to be rude. He was saying it because he at least went the extra mile and was a friend who showed up at my doorstep and wanted to help me. He saved my life. His name's John Monazeri, and I talk to him pretty much every week. One of my dear friends before this and even during the whole process afterwards. And it led me into eventually getting into the rooms of AA and helping myself to really see the opportunity. I needed to change my thinking. My thinking was wrong. My thinking of how I looked at life and the things going on in my world. And once I flipped my thinking around, and I love it, I use the mantra, two that come really to my mind all the time is the Japanese proverb, fall 7, get up 8. One, entrepreneurs need to get up. It's easier to fall forward than it is to fall back. So get up, dust yourself off. You're not broken. You may be broken in some areas that you feel like you need some repair. That's why we have great people to help us today, to look at us and say, hey, you know what? Your thinking's wrong. Why don't you adjust? And then number 2, Gandhi had a really simple statement. It says, be the change you wish to see in this world. It doesn't tell me to go out and make everybody, hey, why aren't you doing what Gandhi said? Instead, it has helped me to set my tone for be the change. And how do I want to show up in the world? And what am I looking to give to the world? Another way of thinking about it is flipping the idea of waiting in line when you can go back to, eating food at a buffet again. Instead of waiting in line and having everything that you want, flip it to, could I be of service and go into the kitchen and cook the food? Could I go today and serve? Could I go and make sure everybody's good? Could I make sure that the people have what they need? And that doesn't take anything from us today. We can do that right now in our own world, in our own lives. You don't have to have a restaurant. You can just literally help people. I had a friend who had massive surgery this last week, and my wife, Amber, and I, we just said, hey, we'd love to buy you guys dinner, and got dinner ordered and just send it to their house. So you can still love on people from afar, and don't think because you can't go outside and hug your neighbor that you can't make them smile. You can do a little dance in front of their house. You can hold up signs, and we have that today. And I think it's so important that in the service area, what question that I see is, how can I serve? If you really want to know how you can serve, get out a piece of paper and first just start looking at what makes you feel good when people do stuff for you. When they buy you a cup of coffee, or they give you a phone call, or they recommend a book. They make an introduction via email to somebody or something that you should check out. They recommend watching a video on YouTube. I think you can serve in small ways and large ways. I think the most important thing is in your local community, a lot of food banks are needing stuff right now. And it doesn't mean that you have to go have a whole bunch of money to give. You can literally just say, I'll buy somebody's meal today and give a couple dollars. We're cleaning out our stuff. I'm going to drop stuff off at the Arc as a place here. You can just give a whole bunch of stuff that we're not using, t-shirts, blankets, bags, things that you're just not using on a daily basis. I'd rather just go give, hey, and I get a bonus, kind of like you. I'm cleaning out my garage. I'm doing something and getting something in return. So service is something that you give and something you receive. But the thing that I want to give entrepreneurs, and I didn't get this, and it took me a while, you have to have grace. You have to offer grace to yourself first and foremost, and then offer the world grace. If you're an entrepreneur trying to get a small business loan, if you're trying to do anything right now, you'd be frustrated on website slowdowns, things are not working according to your plan. Any document you find seems like it's outdated. Then if you just stop, I posted this the other day, I'm think about the medical professionals, the people on the front line, all the doctors, anybody doing a service, delivering food, blah, 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 blah. Show them grace. They need grace more than ever right now, and it'll help you to slow down and offer yourself grace. Nobody I've ever talked to has ever gone through this.
That's so true.
So we're all going through it differently, but all going through it at the same time.
You just shared so many important points. Having grace is very important. We have to have grace with ourselves, patience with ourselves. You and I had technical challenges coming on in spite of our best efforts to be here early, 10 minutes early before the start, and we still had struggles. And not getting flustered over those things and just saying, hey, this is what we're dealing with right now. We're doing the best we can. And noticing other people around us when they're struggling and they're in a tough situation and showing grace. I think about the groceries that I get delivered and the people who come to my house and are dropping those groceries off. They're working their tails off right now and putting themselves, people who work in grocery stores are putting themselves in harm's way to go to work. And we need to remember that when we're interacting, when we're on the phone with the mortgage company, the bank, whoever we're on hold with for hours, and we finally get that customer service rep, remembering that they've been talking to people all day long who are tired, frustrated, and, let's be a light in their world. Let's look for that way to do that. One of the things that's really powerful for me to hang on to is every one of us is experiencing a heightened level of stress in a different way. So we all have our unique stressors through this. And so when you're talking about, when you ask someone, how are they doing? And they say they're good, and you want to peel back to another layer and kind of really get that conversation going. I think one of the best ways to get there is to say, what's stressful for you in all of this? And what are you doing to deal with it? And that really gets to what's going on, what's really going on for that person. You talked about the time in your life when you were suicidal, and I really want to hit that here with our entrepreneurial community. As the business psychologist, one of the things that I'm highly aware of is that coming into coronavirus, the majority of entrepreneurs are operating from a place of burnout and severe symptoms of burnout, sleep deprivation, not spending time with family, not taking care of health, really putting their own needs on the back burner to keep businesses going. That's kind of the typical entrepreneur grind it out scenario. And that is a setup for depression, for anxiety, for suicidal ideation. One of the things that I see in our entrepreneurial burnout assessment is when someone checks off the box that they're more cynical about the world and they're isolating more. That's what really gets me concerned. So I think right now, if you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling, one of the most important things I can say to you is to recognize that you are not alone in your struggle. This is something that is a common experience of entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest, most challenging things we could ever take on in our lives. It's a great opportunity for personal growth and development. And for most of us, we are stretching continually. And if we start to internalize the struggles that we have and decide it must be something about us, that's when we become at heightened risk for suicide. And, so I've had the honor to have a lot of conversations recently with entrepreneurs at a very deep level. And I've heard multiple entrepreneurs talk about that dark period in their life when they felt suicidal. So, Tony, I feel so appreciative that you just opened right up about that here and were willing to talk about that, because I think it normalizes this.
Yeah, I'll give something that I needed some time to process myself. As I thought I was broken. I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't know how to really work through it. And so I've come to understand this. And I think this is one of the things that I coach and teach people on, is that you're not weak for asking for help. It's actually a sign of your greatness. When you were young and we're in elementary school, we get really accustomed to asking, hey, can I use the restroom? The teacher says, fine. By second or third grade, the teacher just says, you can go, just go, come back, right? And they may even give you a hall pass, come back. By the time you're a junior in high school, you've been picked on or made fun of for asking questions because, you're an idiot, you don't know the answer, and so before we get good at just putting our hands down, and I'm asking today, I don't know whatever world you're in, I can tell you if you're in here watching an amazing leader teach today and share and bring in talented guests, that you're an entrepreneur and then you have your ups and downs, you have your peaks and your valleys. I want to help build a bridge today so that you can have a lot less valleys and you can have a lot more peaks. And we just want to build a bridge in between those two. So I teach something called fantasy, possibility, reality. Fantasy is in your head. It's stuck there. It's something you think of all the time. Maybe it's an idea. Maybe it's a place you want to travel. That's amazing. Get into possibility as fast as you can. That's like pick up a phone, share it with somebody what you're going through. Just say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And get feedback, right? We call it test. Test. Ask for it. And then from possibility to reality are just steps. And it can feel a lot like chutes and ladders. Like you're going along, everything looks great. And then you fall down and you're like, oh, just remember everybody who's gone before you. If you keep asking mentors and coaches to help you, don't be an asshole. Be somebody who's willing to ask, be coached, be willing to tap into your potential, be willing to unlock your greatness, the thing that's inside of you that makes you who you are. And remind you that one day you're going to need to reach down and grab somebody to help pull them up. And then you can use the fall forward kind of mentality from the Japanese proverb. We're going to be better together than we are isolating on our own. And I knew once somebody knocked on my door and gave me a glimpse of what my life was, 2 people showed up within 45 minutes of each other. One told me that your life had meaning and purpose. And number 2, it was my pastor who said, Tony, I can see you sharing your message with the world. And I couldn't because I couldn't see me. So he held up a mirror and he helped me to see me. He helped me to show, hey, you've got this. Let's do this together. And so I lost the I have to do this and we get to do this. And so much then transferred over to possibility reality. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it, but I know that there's smarter people that have gone before me and maybe some not so smart people, but they've left clues. And there's an old saying, success leaves clues. So you have to be willing to like take a masterclass online, go study from some of the greats that have left. Howard Schultz is on there right now, Bob Iger from Disney. I mean, you can just go on and listen and learn. You have resources today. When I first started, I had a baud modem. I had maybe Earthlink, AOL, Prodigy, or CompuServe. I had to wait like 10 minutes for a picture to download. And I had to figure out how I was going to do this. I had no clue how to build websites or program. I took some classes online, figured it out, and taught myself how to do that. It was a skill I never knew. I was just a radio air personality. I knew how to just be in front of a mic and talk. But I didn't know all the other stuff. I raised my hand and I said, I need some help. And before you know it, that little boy that used to like asking for things came back. And now today I built a network of tens of thousands of people that I can call at any time to reach out to and say, hey, I'm stuck, or do you know somebody who could do this? And in return, I became a Rolodex for people to call me up on the phone and say, hey, I need a traffic broker. I need somebody to source a product for me. Do you know a great copywriter? Hey, I'm thinking about hosting an event. I need speakers. I didn't know any of that stuff. I put all that stuff together because I realized I wanted to learn. And so through everything that we're going on, hopefully by the end of the month, I'm going to have my first rough copy back of a new book of how to handle life after what we're going through right now, how to reintegrate into the world and go to events, how to do virtual events, how to stick out your hand and ask for help. And so I've gotten a lot of entrepreneurs together to come together and say, hey, let's go share a message and be impactful into the world, because the world needs us now more than ever. But everything that you plant today, and if you tend to, it will grow down the road. So think about everything you're doing right now are planting seeds, and you're going to reap the reward and the harvest months down the road. You can't see it any faster than planting the seed. Just give it time, give it space and grace. But know that if you keep planting seeds daily for yourself and for others, you're going to have a bountiful harvest and a beautiful garden to walk through. You may not see it today, but trust us, the process happens. It's always happened. Everything that you're seeing today was in someone's mind 6 years ago, 60 years ago, 600 years ago, of a house, a car, transportation, roadways, and everything. So I know we're going to be okay. It just feels sometimes that we're underwater drowning. And all I'm going to ask you to do is kick a little harder, egg beat it a little bit more, get back up to the top and take another deep breath and know that it's okay to be uncertain. It's just not okay not to ask for help. And that's always been my message, will always be my message ever since someone saved me, that if I can help one person a day, that was the reason why I got out of bed. I asked God every day to help me be contribution and connection in the world. And in return, hey, however somebody hears it, it impacts them. That's awesome. Mother Teresa changed the world. So it reminds me that Sabrina, you can change the world. Anybody listening today can change their world first and then help impact the rest of the world. And I know that inside of us is greatness. So my job is to help pull that out of you.
That is a wonderful perspective. And I am reminded that in the day-to-day, when we are coaching entrepreneurs at Tap the Potential, we hear a lot of stress and struggle. And one of the things that I think is really cool is when we do our milestone celebrations with our clients, which is the 1 year mark or the 2 year or 3 years, their annual anniversary with us at Tap the Potential. And we ask them to look back on their year and look at their wins and successes and what they've put in place in their business, their level of profitability compared to when they first started with us. And I'm always amazed when we stop and we reflect on what has grown over the course of the year, how significant it really is. But when we are in the day-to-day of things, we feel like we have one setback after another, and it's just struggle, struggle, struggle. So we really need to hold that big picture. And you're absolutely right, Tony. We are all planting seeds right now. I want to share and you up beautifully to talk about the Be Fulfilled Journal and how it provides a structure and support for supporting entrepreneurs and making daily choices that move them towards their vision. So if you could talk about that now.
Sure. And I really just want to again say thank you. Such an honor to be here and share. I mean, what I'm passionate about every single day was I needed to look at what was working in my life and what wasn't working in my life. And I've had many coaches and mentors say, just like what you were talking about, reflection's the key to kind of where you're going. Like you can't go somewhere you've never gone if you haven't looked at how far you've come, because then it tells you what you can do. You can do anything. And what I realized was when I was waking up in the morning, I didn't know what my current focus was for my day. So I built in a structure around how to identify your current focus. Gratitude's always going to be your best attitude. So get into gratitude. And then you're like, now what do I need to do? And so I call it the brain dump exercise. I get everything out of my head that I'm thinking. I put a little section down for just putting things down. Then I have a section called commit and deliver. And you take maybe 1 to 2 things, maybe 3 things that you're like, hey, I'm committing to this today. And you schedule it out and you work on doing that. And then you get a journal. I'm not a big writer. I write more like using my digital devices or speaking into my phone and let it transcribe. That's how I work as well. But then there's the section at the end of the day where you check in with yourself and you identify how did I do today? Once again, on a scale of 1 to 5, how was your eating? How was your exercise? How was your communication? How was your personal time? And you start checking in. And then once a week on a Sunday, you do wake up with a cup of coffee, sit maybe on the porch, and you just reflect of your week and you celebrate all your wins. You start writing all the things that helped you. But on top of that, it's a 12-week course. We built a module to go with each week. It's all included. And then we have a community to support you. And my goal has always been that despite where you're at, there are people willing to help you get to places you've never gone. And so the journal is a 12-week journey to fulfillment. My professional life is all about personal fulfillment, helping people to see an idea, get it into a product or service, get it out to the world. That's awesome. And that was very fulfilling for me, but I felt a little empty, kind of like my buddy John said, and meaningless in the personal world. And I was like, what could I do? And so I'm like, everybody always asks for my drainers and drivers or my life's dumpster or my thoughts or things courses. I'm like, why don't I take all of that and put it down into a kind of a workbook, a planner for people? And before you know it, my buddy Sean Stevenson, he wrote the foreword. And I realized I had tapped into something really, really easy and also really, really amazing. I launched my own first physical product to the world. I had no clue what I was doing. I went out to all of these places to manufacture. And I'm like, how much is it going to cost to do this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can even do this. It means I should be just giving them away. And long story short, I fell in love with the entire process of making something physical for people. And it comes in a really cool box. And everything that I do, I try to make sure that I give something of value to everybody. So I mentioned to Sabrina that I'd love to give everybody an access to BeFulfilledJournal.com. And if you use Sabrina's name when you check out, you'll save 50%. I mean, it's already a low price. It'll cover everything to get it to you. And why I want to make sure that you have access to it is then you get access to our community, and our community is there to love on you and help you. There's no stupid questions. There's just people who are willing to learn today. And that's what I want people to realize. The journal's there to teach you some things. And if you have a smartphone, for example, you can QR code each page and it'll get you right into each week's lesson. So I like to help people do that. And then Sabrina, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I could sit in my office and just keep my head down and focus in my little world. And really the opportunity to come in and tap into what you do and, tap the potential and really see the opportunity, because everywhere you are, there are thousands of these little incubated groups growing, and we all have a new normal now. We all have a new way of communicating. I host daily chat rooms on Zoom of 100 plus people or so attending, and in Google Hangouts with our office. I mean, we weren't virtual 3 weeks ago. Half of my office is completely virtual. I had to learn how to be the CEO and leader remote. It's been a unique experience. So if you're flexible, like Gumby a little bit, and bendable and not so stiff, and you're okay with trying to test today. And remember, test is the greatest word you should always have on the top of your mind. You're in test mode. Test, test, test. You're never done testing. Even when you start selling something, you're always in test mode. But be willing today to practice making mistakes, because I think it's essential that we need to learn, and that it's not supposed to be all right. It's supposed to be uncomfortable at times. But any great baseball player, basketball player, football player didn't start out at 1 year old saying, I'm going to go be in the NFL or I'm going to be an NBA player. They had a dream. And that's the thing I want to leave people with today, is that I want you to pretend you're that small little kid again, right now, isolating in your home, and you get to dream. And imagine for a moment that there's no obstacle in front of you, because there's just clear, wide open space. And in your head was nothing but space to dream. What would you be doing? Are you doing what you really, really want to be doing? Or are you doing something you've been stuck doing and you now don't know what to do anymore? Take the journal, keep listening to your amazing host, and tap the potential that's inside of you, and don't play small today. Literally know that everything that you want is on the other side of your fear. Some people refer to it as false evidence appearing real. I just think it's real information that has been there, and now you have tactics and you have things that you can do. You can hire a coach. You can literally almost pretty much Google anything. Be careful what you do Google. When I had a cold once, I Googled something on WebMD and I thought I was dying. So I want to remind myself and you that to unleash your potential, don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes make us who we are. And we wouldn't have a light bulb if the guy didn't, spend a whole bunch of time making a bunch of mistakes. You wouldn't have the internet if the guy didn't create www. So there's a lot of people who have gone before you, have made mistakes and left us a path. And I'm just asking you to find your path today and find it with a bunch of people who are crazy enough to keep moving forward. And that's why I love Steve Jobs, because he always reminded me that I was one of the crazy ones. I was one of the misfits. I was one of the ones, I had a below C-level education. My mom was a special ed teacher. I did not like school, but I was a 3-time All-American in water polo. So everybody finds their own lane. And remember, you pedal hard, have fun, play, ask questions, be of service. If you don't know what service looks like, I tell you, look around the next time you go out somewhere. There's somebody doing service right now. Just so you know, this is service.
Yeah.
Sabrina's hosting a platform to help other entrepreneurs today. That is service. I'm sure we didn't even know what Twitter was until somebody told us we need to be on Twitter. So you're not broken. You're smart. Go figure it out and realize that we're here to help you. That's it.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. I just want to comment on your Be Fulfilled journal and the community and the resources that you're sharing with that. Psychologically, one of the things that you've built into that journal that is so powerful is the reflection at the end of the day and at the end of the week or the month on how did we do. And so often we don't do that because we just get busy and, we may set intentions, but then we never reflect on, well, did I actually do what I said I was going to do? So that you have that self-feedback loop that you've put in there is very powerful for helping us to be a lot more intentional in our lives. So Tony, as we go out, I want to remind everyone of the key points we've touched on today, which is to lead with love, extend grace, starting with ourselves, so we have plenty to give to others, all that good self-care. And we're going to look for ways to serve and be a gift. And we need to shine bright as we do that, because there's a lot of people out there who need support. If everyone watching this today would find somebody in your world and send a text and just say, how are you doing? That would be very powerful. So that's my challenge to everyone watching as we go out today.
I got one last question. I've one more point just to make. And I've heard this a lot. People are like, I can't do a lot right now. I'm tapped. My business is struggling. I'm barely, putting food on the table for myself and trying to help my people. What can I do? The old thing that still works is a little thank you note. You can write a little thank you note. You can drop in the post office. It'll arrive in a couple days. If you go outside and you maybe look at your yard or your car and it's dirty, reflect on how it got dirty. And just spend some time thinking about the days where you were able to drive around and go do things, and just spend a little time in reflection. Don't negatively ponder. Just think, wow, you know what? My car's dirty. I went up to the mountains with my family and it was so nice to get away. Or, my wife was working in the yard the other day and somebody walked by and says, wow, when did you get all these flowers? And she's like, well, I planted them last year. I'm just now tending to the weeds. I'm pulling the things out and bringing the beauty back. So we have all these same abilities. It's not like I'm unique or Sabrina's unique. It's like we are individually unique and gifted, and we have talents. And find your talents and share them with your neighbors today. If that's all you can do, and I promise you, you'll be of service and you will feel good in return.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. I really appreciated it as well. It was awesome.
If you're like most business owners, you have a cash-sucking business that's taking over your life. After the first year in our Better Business, Better Life program at Tap the Potential, you'll have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than you've ever had. Get started. Take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Profit by Design podcast Facebook group. Share your thoughts on today's episode, ask us questions, and let us know what you want to hear about next. Visit our website at profitbydesignpodcast.com to access resources from our sponsors and tools we've created for you. Subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to right now. There's a subscribe button right there. Go ahead and hit it so that you always get a notification when we release a new episode. And finally, share our podcast with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. Thanks again for listening. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.